Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, May 30th, 2023. Let's talk about a man who refused to apologize in writing to a police officer and what happened to him. And several stories are churning in the world of sports. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. A judge has dismissed the case against an Ozark man who was caught speeding and said he'd rather go to jail than give the police officer a written apology for his behavior, reports AL.com's Amy Yurkanin. Now, this story was picked up on some national outlets. Reginald Burks was pulled over and ticketed for speeding while taking his kids to school. He said that as he was trying to leave, the officer was standing in front of his car so that he had to back up and go around. He said he then told the officer to get your butt out of the way, but he didn't say butt. This is the most G-rated podcast you'll hear today, apparently more G-rated than Carline. Now, folks may have varying degrees of respect for law enforcement or opinions on their motives. This is not one of those stories. The big question in this story is not so much the appropriateness of the officer or the motorist, but the judge, an Ozark Municipal Court, who ordered the man to apologize to the officer in writing or face 10 to 30 days in jail. A University of Alabama law professor said up to 30 days is a long sentence for somebody who dropped a mere A-bomb in a moment of frustration. The man was not budging either. He said he'd pay his fines. However, quote, "What am I going to do? I'm going to jail. I ain't writing no letter." Now, a hearing was set for June 4th, but evidently the city's prosecutors weren't interested in pursuing this because the judge dismissed the case on Wednesday. Okay, we're going to do a rundown of a few sports stories that are applicable to us. As always, when we do sports stuff, it's more of Alabama cultural news than ball scores. So if you don't like sports, there's something still in it for you, and we won't even ask what's wrong with you. First of all, the Birmingham Southern College baseball team is now in Eastlake, Ohio, where it plays Friday in the first round of the Division III College World Series. Also on Friday, Birmingham Southern College, the university, is officially closing its doors. BSC is seeded 7th in the tournament, but you can probably throw that out because the Panthers are likely to have a whole higher sense of urgency, since a 2-and-done in the double elimination tournament would mean really, really done. BSC will play at 3:45 p.m. Alabama time against Salve Regina University, which I'm sure needs no introduction. AL.com sports columnist Joseph Goodman is there covering the team. You can follow the coverage at al.com/sports. Meanwhile, the Auburn men's golf team won its first national championship with a 3-2 victory over Florida State at the Omni La Costa Champions Course in Carlsbad, California. Auburn freshman Jackson Koivin chipped in for birdie on number 14 to end his match early and stake the Tigers to a lead. Earlier Wednesday, Koivin received the Fred Haskins Award, which you know is the Heisman of men's golf. One more sports item. The NCAA and the Power 5 conferences last week agreed to a court settlement that's going to mean that the schools will be directly paying some of their athletes. But before we really know what all the fallout's going to be from this, expect a flurry of activity from lawyers, rules committees, and market forces. But it looks like one leg of this is an additional expense to athletic departments of up to $22 million. So how do you balance that in the budget? Well, University of Alabama Athletics Director Greg Byrne, when asked about the possibility of cutting sports during the SEC meetings in Destin, Florida, said that is not a path they want to go down, reports AL.com's Michael Casagrande. Quote, "But it's also very, very costly. And that's not just Alabama. That's across the board in everything we do. And I'm proud of how we support our Olympic sports," end quote. One more thing I want to mention. A Forbes study came out that ranked states for having the worst drivers in the nation. They used several criteria, traffic deaths, DUIs, that sort of thing. Alabama ranked 12th, so that's 12th worst in the country. Mississippi, incidentally, has the 9th worst drivers. I often like to mention Mississippi because I feel like it gives rankings a little more credibility if they rank worse than we did. Thank y'all so much for listening. We're going to be back here one more time this week. Until then, y'all come on by and see what we're doing on the internet at al.com.